Yes, we called each other this morning.
The light
make sure we're all wearing gray. Yeah. I wore blue shorts instead of gray ones, but we're twinsies or what
Triplets.
What would be triplets? Yeah.
Triplets.
I was gonna say
Tripling.
Triple threat.
twinsies,
Trifecta.
tripsies. I mean,
Tripling.
all right. Well, on that note. Hi, I'm Mike Pettit with Metro Pros of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and Ambassador Real Estate. Welcome to our podcast. Let's make an offer.
Let's.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Let's
I like
make-
the pause.
What's the mortgage rate, Mike? What's the mortgage rate?
What's the mortgage rate?
Yeah, I
the
mean,
mortgage
what-
rate today is,
What kind of offer am I going to make? You know, I've got to have this mortgage and everything.
well, John Estabrook is here from Option Mortgage, and John is offering a 4.5% mortgage.
I did not say that at all.
If you
I did
if
not
you apply
say
and
that at
approve
all.
by 10 a.m. this morning, and I'm not giving you the day, so no,
Not happening.
We've got John Estabrook here from Option Mortgage. John's our lending partner, does a great job for us and our clients, and has a lot of different options. We're going to dig into that. And I've got Dan Dixon here. Dan is one of the members of the Metro Pros team, has been for a very long time. Sells a lot of homes, a lot of existing homes, new construction homes. Has a feel for the market for sure, and is going to talk about mortgage rates. He's got his crystal ball out. He's going to talk about
Polishing the crystal
what's going
ball,
on with
yeah.
rates and why we're seeing them increase and things like that. We're going to dig into it, and a lot of excuse me, a lot of what we're seeing is not historically what's happened in the past. A lot of times you follow the bond market, or you follow inflation, or you follow this or that, and something comes out, some numbers come out, inflation's down, that should help mortgage rates. It's not necessarily helping them. There's other factors involved, but lots of stuff going on. So Dan, before we dig into interest rates and that, let's talk about your background.
Ooh, my background. Well, Omaha native, born and raised here in Omaha. Grew up in a great neighborhood called Westgate,
Yep.
and attended Westside High School.
My mom lives in Westgate.
Westgate's a great area, and at the time I grew up, it was the western edge of the city, right?
Yeah.
You know, we were out there in the boonies.
Here you go. Did they call it West Omaha?
It was definitely West Omaha, you know, and but a great neighborhood. You know, there tons of kids. Everybody had their bicycles and swimming pool and park, and we just roamed the neighborhood all the time. I've heard talk about, you know, kids were in gangs and stuff nowadays, and what a concern. Hey, we had gangs then, but we weren't necessarily doing a lot of mischievous stuff, you know, just kind of a little softer, gentler type time, I suppose. But no, there was whatever sports season it was, that's what we were doing, you know, baseball, basketball, I don't know, hockey, all that stuff, you know. So it was a great way to grow up. Omaha's been a wonderful town in so many different ways for so many people. Went to Westside High School, graduated there. Actually graduated from Westside, so.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Then went on to UNO and got a business degree at UNO, and really learned a lot there too. Then had a couple of different careers, started some businesses, worked in the corporate world for about 10 years. Got an education in a lot of ways all along, and fell in love somewhere along the line with horses. And of course,
I've heard that.
of course, we had a wonderful racetrack in town called Exarban, which was the biggest attraction Omaha had to offer for decades and decades. Tens of thousands of people would migrate to Omaha for the weekends to come to the horse races, and it was quite a spectacular thing. And Westgate was only about a mile from Exarban, and of course, as a child, your perspective is the current reality. And I thought, doesn't everybody have this in their town? Apparently not. But it was so exciting and stuff. When I became an adult, found out that, gosh, it could be an interesting, exciting kind of participation kind of activity too. And so bought some horses and got some partners put together, and to this day still enjoy that an awful lot.
So Dan is excellent at his job with real estate and helping people and helping them find homes or sell their homes and get them sold quickly. He's got a passion for horses. Dan's also got a passion for Groundhog Day.
Absolutely.
Puxatawny Phil, all about that. I mean, and for those that don't know, John and Dan and I used to do a radio show.
Yeah, we did.
For years. And so Dan has quite a following. I mean, he pulls out his 8x10 glossy photos and he signs those for people, and
Well, we had to have security at the doors coming and going from the
traffic
studio,
control from the
right?
police, all that good stuff. So it was a lot of fun doing that, but now we're moving on to podcasts.
No, I think podcasts are a great way to do it. It's an economical way to get the message across. I think that as we, again, expand and get more and more exposure, the sponsors are going to probably be lining up again.
Oh, yeah,
We're going to have to sort out those particular offers a little bit. And
I got a few calls last week.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Hey, let's talk about mortgage rates. So historical averages are 6.5%, 7%, right, John? 7% historical average mortgage rate. Back in 2020, and give or take a year or two, we saw rates around 3%, and they're being kept artificially low by the government because the government feds were buying mortgage-backed securities, driving the mortgage rate price down. That benefited people that were in the housing market. Fed decided a year and a half ago, John?
Yeah, a little late to the game.
They're going to get out of the mortgage-backed security business. They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So now your biggest purchaser of mortgage-backed securities out of the market, which causes rates to rise. Inflation causes rates to rise. And now we've seen rates go from the 3% to over 7% now. You see inflation coming down, which should mean rates should come down. That's not happening. They get a jobs report that's better than expected.
Mm-hmm.
And rates jump up again, mortgage rates. So it's kind of counterintuitive sometimes. You think, well, we're adding jobs to the economy, isn't that a good thing? Well, no, they want fewer jobs in the economy because too many people working is going to spend too much money and it's going to fuel inflation. So, Dan, let's talk about rates and like what your crystal ball and your.
I've been working overtime, polishing the crystal ball because I know it's on everybody's mind, right?
Did you go to a tarot card reading to also find out like what's going on?
I skipped that one last week, but I was there 2 weeks ago, and I think the accuracy of the tarot cards and stuff is about the same as most of these experts, right? And I'm not trying to, undermine the expertise that people have that study this stuff all the time. I get it. It's very, very difficult to predict, but I would urge people so strongly to really consider what's really going on. And what's really going on is that's a headline today about mortgage rates. And yes, they have spiked up from historic lows. And it's not pleasant if you're trying to get a mortgage today. But on the flip side of that, with the higher mortgage rates, we've also seen a kind of a cooling of the marketplace, that the housing market was a little bit overheated the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's still more demand than there is supply. There's a fundamental shortage of supply that is going to continue to exist for quite some time because builders simply aren't taking the risk of overbuilding houses. As population growing and economy's doing well, people need affordable, shelter. And so that demand is, by all measures, going to remain very strong, and rightfully so. I mean, renters understand this this problem better than anybody. Every month they're making a payment, but essentially they're paying their landlord's mortgage off, not their own mortgage. So they're not really building any equity or any wealth.
And it's not like rent rates are going down. I mean,
No.
they're increasing every year. Over the last 40 years, they've increased almost 8.5% a year on average. In Omaha, they just came out with a number saying that rents increased almost 15% year over year.
Absolutely, and so it's just one of the fundamentals, I suppose, that as you develop your financial strategy, as you go through life, you're going to have to pay something for shelter costs. And so figure out a way to have that something not pay off someone else's mortgage. And again, to my investor clients and so forth, I know they don't like to hear this. They want to charge rent, and that's part of what that formula, how that formula works. And by the way, there are plenty of times where renting a property is a suitable solution to a shelter need, right? I mean, you may be in a city short term, or you're going to be in a part of town shorter term, and so renting makes all kinds of sense. But over the long haul, participating in the equity side of real estate ownership is by far the best proven way to, some financial stability and, basically the American dream, if you will.
So you look at mortgage rates and you say, okay, well, they used to be 3, now they're over 7. There's lots of predictions what's going to happen the rest of this year and then into next year. As far as are they going to go up a little bit more and then drop or whatever.
Yes.
But I think yes, they're going to do both.
Yes.
I think the thing is that people, when the rates were 3%, were out buying larger homes than they typically would because the affordability was there. Now the affordability index has changed and they need to scale back. That doesn't mean you shouldn't purchase a home because you can still build equity. We're still seeing increases in equity. And, maybe instead of buying a $300,000 home, maybe you're buying a $250,000 or $225,000 to be more affordable. There's still plenty of affordable houses in that price range. Maybe it's not your perfect dream home, but you need to start somewhere.
And Mike, there's a great little phrase that I've been using a fair amount here lately, but I advise clients all the time if they're buyers in this marketplace. You marry the house, find a house that you really like in a neighborhood you really like. They're out there all over Omaha, and find that house. Let's make an offer. That's the name of our show, right?
Right.
And let's get something done. But basically, you're marrying the house, but you date the rate. Well, date the rate, yes, because mortgage rates do change, and there's a 30-year financial instrument. And again, if you really study what this fundamental is all about, you're owning a house, but a bank is lending you sometimes up to 97% of the value of that purchase, and you get to live there and slowly over 30 years pay this loan off. Well, guess what's going to happen over 30 years? A lot. And typically rates are going to go up and down. Typically there's going to be some opportunities to possibly refinance at a lower rate. And so yes, today you have to do your calculations for your monthly payment based upon today's rate. And so yeah, that might change your math a little bit and what type of house you should buy. But end of the day, you're looking at a 30-year window that most 90% of people never have a 30-year mortgage, right?
Yeah.
They refinance at some point during that time. Either they move out and get a different house or refinance to a lower rate. All kinds of things happen and will continue to happen. But I think what I find the conundrum for a lot of people is we get so bogged down with these headlines that pound us day in and day out on our news feeds and our phones, and all the media talks about it because that's the easy story. Let's talk about high mortgage rates. Well, guess what? They're not going to stay there. It's just like it's raining now. Well, guess what? It's not going to be raining every day forever. And so, you have to kind of take all of that into perspective and balance it off with what you're really doing is making a long-term decision that should have long-term implications and does have long-term implications. But I've seen it spook some people enough that they just kind of batten down the hatches. I'm not going to go look at houses. I'm not going to go do this or do that. And I'm seeing, like I say, a little bit of softening in the marketplace in terms of prices, in terms of competitive situations. Buyers have more advantages now than they've had in several years. And you and I have talked about this a little bit, Mike. When mortgage rates do peel back a little bit and go back down to 5-6%, whatever they're going to go to, I doubt that they're going to go back to 3 anytime soon. But
I doubt they ever will.
I never say never. I've learned that at my age that things can change. But bottom line is, you have to be thinking about what's going to happen to the housing market when those peel back a little bit. All of a sudden, competitive offers are going to be back. You're going to be out there competing as a buyer against 10 other people trying to buy the same house because there simply isn't a large enough supply of houses out there to satisfy the demand that we know is in the pipeline.
Well, demand is already there, for one. That demand is only going to increase because the millennials, the largest group of millennials, are entering the housing market in the next 3 to 5 years. That is the largest demographic population number in the history of the United States entering the housing market.
Yep.
So you have a shortage of homes. Nationwide, about 5 million homes we're short that we need. Omaha, I've heard numbers from anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 homes that we're short. There aren't enough builders coming into town to build. And even if they did, if we're 8,000 homes short, it's going to take Omaha 20 years to catch up with that shortage if somebody came in and built 1,000 homes a year, because they got to meet demand and then they got to eat into the deficit. So I mean, you're talking about this long-term thing, and we don't have a builder coming in town building 1,000 homes a year. D.R. Horton said that they were going to do that a couple of years ago and never got to the numbers. And now they've kind of shifted what they're doing. So huge demand already, pent-up demand. Millennials are coming in the market, and we have this huge housing shortage. So what's going to change in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Not much, except it's going to be even more difficult, to your point. And right now, we're back to the point where you can get home inspections and maybe get a home warranty and do some things that you couldn't get done before, like maybe you get some closing costs paid by the seller. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there wasn't a chance in heck of you getting any of that.
Even a year ago.
Absolutely.
Even early last year, no way were you going to get those things done.
And Mike, when I've done my real estate career, I've tried to get a balance between working with buyers and working with sellers. And I love a balanced market because my strengths are helping negotiate deals and doing the best job I can to get the seller the most money they can get. And conversely, on the opposite side, when buyers are out there, doing the best job I can to get them the most value at the lowest price. And so a balanced market works great for me because that requires some skill then. I have to confess that over the last couple of years, working with buyers has been a little tricky, only because I'm advising them to do things that I wouldn't ordinarily advise, like go ahead and make an offer without having an inspection. Go ahead and boost that, multiple offer addendum up to a higher price beyond what the house is going to appraise for. And I've done that carefully and with an education, to support it and so forth. But it has definitely been a bit of a challenge to counsel buyers and say this is the best proposition you're ever going to see, because it's not. It's been really, really demanding. Buyers have had to pay a bit of a premium, but we do know that with those fundamental, supply and demand issues that we've been talking about, it's going to continue to be that way for years into the future. And so that's why, again, I've been able to counsel buyers and say, hey, I don't know exactly what's going to happen 6 months from now or 6 years from now or whatever, but at the end of the day, you've got to get into the market. You've got to get your foot in the door. And Omaha, compared to national, is such a different kind of market. We have a very strong, stable economy. Unemployment is the lowest in the history of unemployment in the country. And that again creates incomes, create economic activity and stability that is needed in the housing market. And again, Omaha was never built with the idea that we're going to be a high-end, over-the-top, housing kind of costs and stuff. Our housing costs have always been very moderate compared to other parts of the country. And again, I continue to see that that's going to be the case. Although there is definitely some migration of people from really expensive markets to Omaha, because we do have far lower, housing costs than a lot of other places. And our world today allows you to work remotely, anywhere you need to be. And so Omaha's been pretty attractive to a lot of people. We've got a good, stable economy. We've got a great school system. Weather is variable, which
Variable.
people that like variety love Omaha, right? And I personally love the change of seasons. And the severe heat that we're going to get next week reminds me that, hey, the cold of winter is not that far off. And when we get those bitter cold days in January, I'm reminded again that the heat wasn't all that bad. But that's part of the Omaha experience.
Yeah, I think the lesson to learn with mortgage rates is don't wait. Don't read a story and think that's going to happen, because it's not. I mean, the vast majority of people were saying that rates were going to be in the 5s by this time of year, because inflation was going to get under control because of this, because of that. Well, instead of in the 5s, now they're in the 7s.
Yep.
So there's always predictions, and it can be very, very much based on the facts and based on trends in the past, but we're not seeing those trends followed now. We're seeing the opposite things happen a lot of times. And so don't wait for it and don't think that you know what's going to happen. If rates drop in the future, fine. You can refinance later.
Here's the chart, Mike.
Dan's got the chart.
Here's the chart.
Historical rates.
From 1971 to 2023. See this line? See, I'm trying to coach people how to predict mortgage rates, right?
Yeah.
So see this line? Goes up, goes down, goes up and down, up and down, up and down. It goes up and down, all right? And so you gotta change your mindset. Don't let these momentary headlines that are popping up today dictate for you a long-term strategy that is really beneficial to you. So I can't emphasize that enough. Spoiler alert, there is no way to predict exactly what an interest or mortgage rate is going to be in any short window.
I thought maybe on the podcast you were gonna reach down and grab the hat, the great Karnak, put it on prediction. I see rates of 4%.
You know, my personal belief is that inflation is being tamed, although I am amused at the nature of the commentary from some of the, you know, very wise, very educated people that think it's simply a matter of pushing buttons and moving levers and they can change some of those dynamics, because again, the most powerful forces of supply and demand are really moving those markets. And so yes, when you have so much more demand than there is supply, you're going to continue to see relatively elevated housing costs. You know, it's just a fact of life. And so they can say whatever they want, but I don't know that mortgage rates, you know, you can ever count on them being what they were a couple of years ago. So those mortgage calculators, they're a great little tool to use and continue to use them. I think that, I hope that, you know, we're seeing them peak out right now and we'll see them come back to us a little bit. But guess what? A year ago, when they were rising fairly quickly, and I think a year ago at this time, they were around 5.5%, 6%. And I remember talking to some people, oh my gosh, I'm gonna wait for mortgage rates to come down, because I heard experts say that next year at this time, they're gonna be back to 4% or whatever. And I said to them, you know what, they might be. I just don't know, and nobody does know. So guess what, think about this proposition. If you wait and you're wrong, and they go up to 7 or 7.5%, which they did, you're gonna feel great at getting this mortgage at 5.5%. And they do. I've talked to them.
My first house, I paid 7 5/8
Right.
For the rate. Didn't know any better. That's what they were. We wanted to buy a house. We wanted to start building equity and bought the house. I mean, we didn't refinance on that one because we ended up buying something else not too long after. But you know, I know your first house, you were double digit.
Right. We were, you know, we had another child on the way, and like you, I'm working hard and just trying to, you know, keep it all together, right? Young parents and stuff. And it's like, uh-oh, you know. But we needed a house, and I just signed. I mean, I'm just going, hey, whatever it is, I shop for the
You're my
mortgage
favorite customer.
Yeah, I shop for mortgage a little bit, but bottom line is I needed a house and whatever it was. But houses weren't as expensive as they are now, and I get that. That's an issue. But guess what? That's where good, experienced realtors, like you're going to find on the Metro Pros, can help you. We do this day in and day out. We live and breathe the real estate market, and you know, put it all that experience to your benefit, and we can help guide you and hold your hand through it. If you're you already have a house and you're thinking, oh, I can't sell now because my new mortgage will be higher than my old mortgage. Well, yep, it will be, but that's not forever. You know, it's again.
Plus, you built up a ton of equity in your current home, so
you've gotten the benefit of a nice, healthy increase, and so it's been wonderful to see people that have been in the marketplace a little bit, and maybe, you know, the average I think is what, 5 to 7 years people stay in a house, and those people have enjoyed a tremendous rise in equity, and they're moving now into their second or third house, and their eyes are wide open, going, oh my goodness. You talked about this, Dan, way back when we bought that first house, and now we're buying this house that we only dreamed of in the past. And so, you know, and of course there's the other end of the spectrum where hey, some of my peers and things are going, hey, we need to downsize. We
Yeah.
need to, we don't have 6 kids in the house anymore.
It's always a life event happening, right?
Right. So it's a lifestyle change. And hey, those people also have enjoyed a lot of equity. And there's some just tremendous communities now with either villas or townhomes, and you can actually maybe take some equity off the table. So there's all kinds of potential out there. A lot of times, if you get to a certain age, you either have a very low mortgage or maybe no mortgage at all. That's fine. You're in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, you need some experience and guidance. Somebody that has their fingers on the pulse of the marketplace, like you're going to find at the Metro Pros. And again, for all those of you that tuned in, hoping to know exactly how to calculate what mortgage rates are going to be and when they're going to be that way. And again, the spoiler alert is it can't be done. So stop beating yourself over the head trying to outguess the marketplace, time the market. It can't be done.
It's kind of like the stock market. You can't predict when that's going to go up and down, and you can't predict mortgage rates.
No,
so.
it will go up and it will go down.
Yeah. Tell you what, normally we do a funny real estate story or something,
Right.
and then we ask everybody who comes on the podcast, Dan, to do a signature dance.
Oh,
move.
yeah.
And we're running short on time, so instead of telling a story, I love your signature dance move, and I think the listeners and viewers are going to love this.
It looks easy, but when you try it, it's a little harder than it looks.
I've tried and I failed, but Dan, I would like to clear the table here for you and have you do your signature dance move.
Is it padded around in case I fall or anything?
Just fall towards John or the couch.
The couch.
And we'll see what happens.
The table's strong enough to support
Yeah.
60 pounds or something.
Yeah. 160, is that what you weigh?
Well, maybe 165.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, I appreciate that. So, no, but Dan's got this great signature dance move. I think it's, Dan's Irish. I mean, maybe
It's got some roots in the Irish.
Maybe it's got a little roots there.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I can't lay down a sick beat for you, but maybe as
What goes? It can be done with a lot of different songs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll have him lay down some music for this.
All right, you ready
It's
for?
gonna be worth it. I'm ready.
It's crazy late.
John, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, you're gonna
I'm
love it.
ready.
For those
I
that
better move that.
don't have a signature dance
Oh,
move,
boy.
you may want to pick this one up because here we go. Dan Dixon. He gets this.
I can do it
kick
left-footed,
going.
too.
Yeah, see, it's not easy. It's not easy, but guess what? If you're at a wedding this weekend, you may want to try this. So, Dan Dixon, signature dance move. And
Good job, Dan.
I don't think anybody can top that or do anything.
No.
So we're just going to end the podcast right there. We
Hey.
appreciate you listening. We appreciate you viewing this. Hopefully everybody goes to the YouTube channel and views it because you got to see Dan's signature dance move.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.